Hello. Wanted to start off by saying I promise you I will show you something today that nobody has ever seen before. I know a lot of times you get some of the old stuff, so we're going to show you something new unless you've seen our presentations before. We're a data analytics company. We've come up with some new sciences, and what I want to point out, what you're seeing here is a piece of data that was given to IBM's Watson. When IBM's Watson got it, took them about an hour and a half to process it. They came back and said with their highest confidence score, this was white. They then came back and said with a lower confidence score, it's gray, it's frost. What's actually in this, through our solution, in 1/10 of 1 second, we actually find that it's the wall of King Tutankhamun's tomb. Subsequently to that, that was a one-on-one head-to-head with Watson. Subsequently to that, we have been asked by Watson to start going in front of Watson to provide deeper context. And that's what this tool is about, is finding the context inside data that humans and other systems can't see through a process of emergence. Oftentimes we get, well, have you proven yourself? Tell us about ground truth or a priori knowledge. One good example of that is in imaging, in healthcare. There are certain cancers that are not able to be imaged at all. They're too small. They're smaller than their tentacles are smaller than the pixel size in MRIs. This particular cancer kills 100% of the children that have it. 98% of them by the time within 2 years of their diagnosis, which is usually before the age of 9. So what we did is we applied our solution, and even though the data is not in the image of the cancer itself because it's too small, we've been able to actually show the impact on the brain with which the cancer causes, and thus the physicians have been able to make accurate diagnosis. Several leading physicians from inside the country have validated our results. It is not able to help cure the cancer as yet, but at least now they're able to create a better understanding. So imagine that you're going to go down a river. This is a panchromatic image. This is in Louisiana. You're going to go down a river. You're trying to get into some place. You're worried that somebody may have been there before. You can see a speedboat here. You'll notice that what I'm going to show you will be some of its wake trail. And you can see it there. We're also showing the shoreline and other features on the terrain. What's important about this, though, is that we don't use gamma correction, brightness, contrast. We don't use any of those standard tools. We use the emergence process. So when we did gamma correction and brightness and contrast on the original image, you could not see the wake behind it. Oftentimes, if this image were larger, which it is, it's too big to make sense of it if you showed the whole thing, we can actually see that wake trail for almost a mile. We can see the smoothing on the water. So if this boat were gone, you'd be able to know it was there. This image, satellite capture, took us, I think, about a half a second to process. Also very important is in SAR, obviously the quality of the imagery is less than in optical. One of the things that we found about seeing the unknown is if you look at this is Norfolk Harbor. You can see an aircraft carrier on the left, what looks to be probably a cruiser on the right. What's actually in that image are bubble curtains, which are on the surface. You'll notice that those are, the diameter of one bubble curtain is about a quarter the length of an aircraft carrier. So it's a really big feature. Sometimes those are invisible to the eye. The spaghetti-looking things are the feeder lines that are under the water. Now these are somewhere between 15 and 30 meters below the water. They won't tell us because of the sensitive nature of that. What's important in that is SAR only penetrates water anywhere from 3 to 6 inches, maybe 12 inches. We're seeing this at 15 meters to 30 meters below. The reason why is we're actually seeing the displacement of the water as it went over the feeder lines. Now we sent this back to the SAR manufacturer. It was not only the manufacturer, the designer of the SAR. They were not able to pull this out of their own data to date, and it's been 18 months since we received it. Took us 1/10 of a second to visualize it. So now, if you have an interest of what's hanging out under the water or what's moving under the water, certain sensors applied with our capabilities on top of it, we can show that in near real time. The speeds that I'm telling you, by the way, are built on a laptop, or run on a laptop straight out of Staples. So you add more power and horsepower to it, you're going to end up with pretty much near real time. So in emergence also, think about Shoreline. There are other Shoreline applications out there that will look and try to find water and try to find land, and they'll draw a straight line on shoreline. Well, that doesn't help you very much because it doesn't paint the shoreline. You don't understand the nature of the shoreline or the context about what the shoreline is. We'll actually paint it, evaluate it, get some very significant deep detail about it. You'll also see that in the subsequent image beneath it, that's a airport in Sarajevo. We provided that to someone in the Air Force who came back and said that we were actually seeing the black rubber on the black asphalt from the satellite. So this is one of my favorites. We do great things in black water, right? We see lots of things within it. We grabbed this because we thought about the fact that there was black water. So this was the April 5th, 2009 North Korean missile launch. In fact, so if you can see the contrail that extends just behind the missile for about 1/8 of the length of the image, if you look behind it in the one that we process, we're actually picking up heat, the heat trail all the way back. Now this is not a thermal or IR image, this is an optical image from space. We had that at the Space and Missile Battle Labs, had a lady from the IR section come up to us and say, there is no way that you found that. We told her, go out, it's a commercial image, get on the internet, bring it back to you, we'll do it right here in front of you. We were able to do it in less than a second. It actually, if you're looking at it in high resolution in its original state, you'll actually see that it goes back to the point of origin. So it says here we make things easier to see or we make it clearer. We don't sharpen or make things clearer as much as we actually show you what's inside the data again. And so you can see a great deal of detail that's brought out of this hyperspectral image at a point that it makes it manageable and interpretable rather than trying to sit and evaluate something that is less clear. So this is also one of my favorites. It's interesting to try to take a photograph in the shadows. You lose a lot of detail. You're flying a UAV, there's a shadow-covered alleyway over on the side, you might not get what's in it. What's more difficult to do is take a picture into a bright source of light such as the sun. You'll notice that you see it here, you can start seeing the items around the vehicles and the tent. What's more interesting is you can actually read the back of that sign that says no parking. Now we didn't do this with a dial, it's one click of a button or it's fully automated. That way you don't have to sit there and spend time fooling with dials. You can barely see the guy. We bring him out. We bring out the camouflage really pretty well and pretty quickly. Seismic, seeing under the ground, whether it's border security, whatnot. Non-imagery analysis, we're data agnostic. We see extremely deep detail in the data. We can teach people how to interpret it. We can also create very hyper-specific signatures on what's found for either our knowledge bases or somebody else's knowledge bases. So this is an extremely noisy set of data provided to us in noise on purpose. This was the result. See the significant order in the highlighted boxes on the left. There's significant order in that data. This was magnetometry flying across, looking for things under the water. And with that, I'm going to be done. I'll be off to the side if anybody has questions.